Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where every week we talk about precious metals, industrial metals, stocks that are surrounding the world of scrapping and recycling, and then a few hints for things like business and safety. So, without any further ado, we're going to dive right in. It is great to see everybody here. That's right, recycling was first in today. Welcome, Scrapping Irish, CU, Scrapping Electronics, Scrapper. Great to have you all here. We've got some fun stuff to talk about today, so I am looking forward to having a fun hour with y'all. Now, I'll tell you right up front, we being Scrapping Irish and I did a pretty thorough test yesterday on the audio system here. Brought up a whole bunch of tabs. We went through a whole bunch of things, so we should have this audio thing figured out. I spent the week doing a bunch of research. I made some changes, cleared some cache, rebooted the system. We went through a few things. So, boy, I'm sure hoping we've got the audio figured out this time around because, man, that's just annoying. Just annoying as all get out. All right, so we are going to dive right in, and boy, howdy, this is where we had some trouble here. So let's just see what happens when we go over to our gold tab. Now, just as a disclaimer, I am not sponsored by AppMex. I don't take any compensation from them. Hey, E-Waste Jill, great to have you here. But AppMex is one of the sites that I have used in the past to buy and sell physical gold and silver. It's a no hassle, no drama. I've always had good luck with them, never had any issues. So if you're thinking about buying or selling physical gold or silver, AppMex, I can recommend. Well, we're going to take a look at gold this week. And I tell you, it's not exactly what we want to see. Now, they're saying for the 24-hour, it's up, but you can see we've got, we're up and down here. I don't, as always, I don't get really excited about this 24-hour stuff. But if we look at the 3-day, and gold is up a little bit here on the 3-day. And if we go to the week, though, yeah, that's not what we want to see. Because a week of dropping like that means that our scrap yards are going to, hey, E-Waste, Mike, great to have you here, man. The scrap yards are going to, be nervous about what they're offering for computer waste and stuff. So we don't like seeing that. And it's down for the month. I mean, boy, that's a pretty clean drop for the month there. So gold's going in the wrong direction here. Let's see. What do we got here? 3-month trend. Gold is also going in the wrong direction. 4.77, negative 4.77%. Well, and year to date, it's up, but that's not doing us any good because this is what's got us really worried right now. All right, so what's going on here? Look, gold is very closely tied to what's happening with the U.S. economy, and what? The sound is sketchy again? No way. No way. All right, so as the dollar rises and the Fed keeps staying hawkish, we see that the price of gold drops again. So we're going to clear this. I tell you, this doesn't make any sense because we went through this yesterday, Scrapping Irish and I, and we had no issues at all. So I don't understand why we're having trouble right now. Hey, Miss Canadian Scrapper, great to have you here. But I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make, I am prepared with a couple of little quick changes here. So hang on just a second. We're going to see if this makes any difference at all. I don't think that it will, but we're going to try. Stock Explorer, great to see you here. All righty, now I have switched over to a different microphone. You know what? That one's looking a little bit low. So let's do this a little bit here. All right, that should be a little bit better for y'all. Okay, so I've now switched over to another microphone. Hopefully that, well, we'll see. I don't know. Here's the deal. Scrapping Irish and I came up yesterday and we did a test run and we had no troubles at all with the audio. So it's really kind of weird that this is going on. Urban Prospector, thanks for letting me know that the sound is better here. We'll see when I bring up another tab if that makes any difference. I mean, I have checked the speeds on my system, and compared to Scrapping Irish's speeds, man, I'm jamming. I've got download speeds of 121 megabytes per second, upload at 24, so that should not be an issue. And I cleared the cache, rebooted the computer before we got started here. So, man, we'll see what goes on here. All right. Our next, so gold is dropping. That's not what we want to see, but that's what gold does, right? When the dollar, when the interest rate goes up on the U.S. In the U.S. And on U.S. loans. And right now they're, we're talking, you could get a CD for 5+% right now. So instead of putting it in gold, people invest in bonds and other, certificates of deposit, things like that. So that's why we're seeing gold drop right now. So our next subject for the day is our safety section. And I had a really good, interesting thing that happened this week in the shark cage that led to this safety discussion. I got a call that the landlord was selling the building that I'm in, and the new owners or the buyers wanted to come through and look at all the spaces. So of course, my Navy training kicks in. I'm like, all right, well, I ought to straighten up, clean up a little bit. And as I was getting the shark cage cleaned up and straightened up a little bit, I got to thinking, clutter. Clutter is a great safety topic to talk about because clutter can be dangerous. We make a lot of jokes about, some people's sheds and their workshops. We talk about Ian Matthews. We like to joke about Ian Matthews and what's going to happen if he has a scrap-a-lanch or something like that. But you really need to pay attention to the clutter in your workshop. In the simplest sense, if you're carrying something in your arms, you may not be looking down at your feet or what's right in front of you, and you could trip or stumble over something. Now you're going to fall, and you could fall into some other scrap. You've got the potential for some pretty rough injuries there. So that's a that's a very clear aspect of clutter and why you want to be careful with clutter in your workshop. Last week we were talking about fire. Well, clutter can lead to situations that can become fire hazards. Or if you have a fire, a cluttered workshop can make it difficult for you to get to your fire extinguisher or get out of an emergency exit. Clutter is also a safety hazard because you go to grab for a tool and you knock over 4 or 5 things and maybe they fall on you and you get injured, or you end up, getting cut from something that fell. Clutter just has that aspect of hazard. Now, in the Navy, aboard ship, we had a very good reminder all the time of why you don't let places get cluttered because, well, you got to be ready for C. And a ship does rocking and rolling all the time, and sometimes more than you would like. And if you have clutter laying around a workshop, you're going to have stuff rolling and flying all over the place and breaking and hurting people. And so there's a very important reason why aboard ship you are always very careful about keeping things tied down, put away in drawers, not letting things get cluttered. Well, the same, think about the same thing in your own workshop. Not that your workshop's going to get underway and start rocking and rolling all over the place, but you want it to be clean and well kept. Urban Prospector, welcome to the game. Great to have you here. Scrap It All, great to have you here. So clutter as a safety concern, just every now and then, I'm not saying that you have to, do what we in the Navy would call a field day where, you just stopped everything and cleaned up. But try to keep up with it a little bit of time as you're going along. Don't let things just pile up on your workbench or over on a shelf somewhere, what have you. If you do have to, then maybe you set aside in your regular schedule on your calendar every 2 weeks or once a month, something like that, a day when you're just going to clean up and organize. I know it seems like it's a waste of time. And that's really funny coming from somebody who's always talking about return on investment, right? And how important time is, and time is money. The time that you spend keeping your workshop clean and organized is going to save you a lot more time when you're actually processing things, because you know where they are, you're going to find them easier. You don't have to be digging through stuff looking for tools, and it's going to save you a lot more time in preventing you from getting, or helping you to not get injured. And injuries do nothing but slow people down. So clutter as a safety consideration, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to try to keep things cleaned up. And you know what? I'm just as guilty as the next person, right? So the stuff just sort of builds up on you. It's like you're not necessarily paying attention, and the next thing you know, it's like, wow, man, this place is a mess. Right. So it can really mount up on you. And then, of course, what I've been dealing with lately here with the shark cage with this heat is part of what I do as my safety precautions against the heat is I set an alarm clock for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I stop work in the shark cage. If the temperature is over 100 in the shark cage, I stop work, I hydrate, and then I come back home and do my administrative stuff in the air conditioning. And I do that because the long-term effects of heat and heat fatigue and heat-related disease can be really, really bad on you. And so that's just a part of my safety precaution for the heat. Well, it contributes, though, to the mess building up in the shark cage, because that alarm goes off. I should take a few minutes and straighten up and everything, but usually what I end up doing is just saying, all right, I'm done. grab a cold Coke and head out. So it's no excuses. You got to keep up with it. So Scrap It All says, I clean and organize my shop every day. After I'm done scrapping, it's easier to maintain than make a mess for a weekend. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And boy, howdy, I try to do that, but sometimes about the best I can do is take the trash out. E-Waste Jill says, the older I get, the more aware I am of trip and fall hazards, and staying organized helps with the cussing factor. Yes. Well, there's, some people just like doing that. So, they don't really need a reason for that. But yeah, I get it. That frustration of, God, where did I put that tool? Man, it can really get to you. Really, really get to you. Electronic says he defines clutter. Yeah. And it can be a real challenge. You get in a situation like, our friend E-Waste Mike, every now and then he'll get a bunch of stuff come in back to back. and stuff starts to stack up. And then he's trying to figure out, you know, what am I going to move? Where am I going to put this? What's going to stay outside? So yeah, it's it can be a real challenge sometimes. I'm dealing with a little bit of that, not anywhere near on Mike's scale, but I had a number of I had more incoming over the last couple of weeks than I had outgoing. So you know, I've got a bunch of stuff stacked up that needs my attention. All right. Well, we are getting ready to go to our industrial metals. So this, I'm going to open up another tab here. He moves. Yeah, Mike says he moves stuff 1,000 times a week. I don't doubt that, Mike. I don't doubt that, man. You are one busy, hardworking hombre. You got all kinds of stuff coming in. And man, if you don't keep up with it, you would be in serious trouble fast. So, yep. Okay, so we're getting ready to. The sound is going again, and I just opened up another tab. So, yep, it's the tabs that are doing this. This is very, very weird. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to real quick, we're going to go over here and I want to show you something about, we're talking about lead. So let's go over here real quick. Notice what's going on with lead here. This flat line. And here's the 5-year, and it's also relatively flat. That's for spot price. Here's the 1-year London Metal Exchange, and you can see the inventories are rising. And here's the 5-year London Metal Exchange. You see inventories drop and then start rising again. Now, we're going to come back here. We're going to close this. This should bring the sound back to normal, and it's probably going to take a minute to sync up again. So you saw the charts, and the important thing there is, here, wait a minute, I'm making a note here about the tabs still causing audio problems. You know, the weird thing about this is this just started, 3 weeks ago. I mean, I've been doing this since January, and we didn't have any audio problems until 3 weeks ago. So something very, very strange is going on. And I'm going to apparently have to spend more time trying to figure it out. Because the stuff I did over the last week, and I'm going to have to figure out why we didn't have this problem yesterday. Okay, so with lead, let's get on to the subject here, lead. What we basically saw was, although there was a lot of variation, overall lead is staying pretty stable. You know, when the inventories were dropping and then picking up again, we didn't see a whole lot of long-term changes in the price of lead. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, lead primarily used for lead acid batteries. They're sort of at a status quo, a steady level with lead acid batteries. So you don't have a huge increase in demand for lead batteries. You know, you just got this sort of steady demand signal. And what we'll probably see is inventories will get to a certain point, and then they'll sort of cap off. They'll drop down a little bit, but prices will remain relatively steady over the long haul here. So lead is one of those things that you sell it as you get it. You sell your lead acid batteries or the lead that you pick up from various sources for cash flow, but I wouldn't hang on to lead for any sort of long-term investment kind of thing. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of upside potential. The prices don't vary significantly. So as your lead comes in, when you get enough of it to make it worth taking in and sell it, take it in and sell it, right? That's probably one of the best things you can do. Now, there are a lot of people that like lead for casting projects and such. So, you know, you might do better selling your lead to artists or casters because they have a different value that they place on the lead than your scrapyard will. That's if you just get sheet lead or, you know, straight lead. If you have lead acid batteries, you know, your scrapyard is the place that you're going to be selling it to. So yeah, lead can be used for cupelling if you are truly smelting ores and things. Lead can be good for that. You know, so that you know, how many people are actually out there doing that though is, you know, and are they willing to pay you for it, kind of thing. So definitely another good use for lead if you have somebody who wants to buy it for that. So yeah, lead is lead's an interesting one, and I had I've just made a new contact. You may recall 3-4 weeks ago or so, I brought in a whole bunch of lead, and one of my subscribers here on the channel ended up buying it all from me because they wanted it for some projects that they're doing. Well, the person that I got the lead from was not the guy that actually recovered the lead, but he introduced me to that person. And it turns out that person is a contractor. They do a lot of doctor's offices. And so they end up with, he was telling me that, yeah, he says, you know, I do end up with a bunch of lead. And now that I know that you want it, you know, we can work something out because for him, it's leftover from an installation. It's not, and I was very, you know, I asked him about this because I really wanted to understand the details. He said, yeah, he has to test all his lead. If it's a rip out, he has to check it all so that he knows it's not, you know, that it's not radioactive. So it's going to be clean. And then he says, I also end up with a lot of leftover lead when I'm done a project. And he's under very strict guidance on what he can do if the lead has a certain radiation level, the way it has to be handled and disposed of and stuff. So anything that I would be getting from him would be clean lead that can be used for any number of projects. You know, it's another interesting client that I picked up. And so there may be more lead coming, which could be kind of cool. All right, you know what I'm going to do here real quick? While we are talking, I am going to, we're going to try an experiment, okay? This is going to be kind of fun. So let's go over here. I don't have any tabs open, so let me know if the audio starts to go wonky here. What I want to do is, just in case the audio does get weird though, let's do this first. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do a speed test. I want to see if they are messing with my speed during the weekend. And I can't show you this one. I'm glad I hid this. The sound is gone again? Really? Isn't that interesting? All right. Well, it's not my speed. Yeah, my upload speeds are still up in the the mid 20s. So that's not the issue. We close these tabs down again. And hopefully, so yep, we shouldn't be back. Yep, we should, let me know when the audio comes back. We should, you know, like 10 to 20 seconds here, 30 seconds here. We should have good, clean audio back. And Urban Prospector says, oh, you opened a tab, didn't you? Went and opened a tab now, didn't you? All right, now Scrapping Iris says it's back up again. I mean, that our audio is good again. So, oh man, this is really, really frustrating to figure out what is going on. I mean, I say it's frustrating, but I love a technical challenge like this, right? It's trying to understand what changed, what's going on, that all of a sudden 3 weeks ago, we started having this problem. And what's changed? What changed 3 weeks ago? I mean, there really wasn't anything that changed 3 weeks ago. I don't know. I mean, there were 3 weeks ago, I did do some BIOS updates. So I wonder if there was something associated with the BIOS updates that started causing this. But I don't understand why it's opening the tab that is causing the problem, because prior to 3 weeks ago, I would have 4 or 5 tabs open and it would never be an issue over there. So that is really weird. Yeah, I did put a note into YouTube and to StreamYard. So I'm going to follow up with that and see if I can get some more assistance from them. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing some follow up with that. And I noticed that that there was a comment earlier that some other folks have had trouble on their YouTube channel as well when they're live. But I don't think it's a YouTube issue, because Scrapping Irish has not been having any trouble, and we'll see that when we go to his channel later on today. I've got a number of live streams that I listen to, and they haven't had any trouble. Yeah, we did have some. We've been having severe thunderstorms here for quite a while. I've got this computer protected through a surge protector. I haven't, when I troubleshoot the computer, it's not coming back with anything, not telling me anything that is a problem. Let's see. Urban Prospector says he did a YouTube update about that time. Okay. Interesting. So anyway, what I was saying though is, I mean, I like these kind of challenges because they're fun to try to solve, but I know it's frustrating for all of you. And so I feel very, very, I'm very sorry that we're having these problems as we go through this, because this does not make it any fun for you all at all. I mean, at all. So I certainly appreciate that. All right. Well, our next subject, this one was easy. All right. Our business note subject for the week. You may have noted in my last video, I commented that the police showed up at the shark cage, and they brought 4 police officers. So excuse me. So, you know, I thought it was kind of funny, you know, why'd they show up with 4 police officers? One of the comments that somebody left was aligned really well with what the senior officer there, or detective there, commented, that they were doing some training, and they also had another place they were going to that was much larger than mine. But I just thought it was funny. You know, I'm expecting one officer to show up to go over this with me, and 4 of them come walking in. So what's going on is they changed the system here in the county for secondhand dealers to report. So in the state of Florida, to do what I do as a scrapping and recycling yard, I have to have both the secondary metal recycler's certificate and a secondhand dealer's certificate. And secondhand dealers are required to report. So are scrap metal yards required to report. And the reporting requirements kind of overlap, but they're a little bit different. And so they gave me this nice little booklet that one tells me how to use the system. So, and then they sent me an email Friday afternoon with a login and password. So I have to go in. I'll go in Monday and log in the, log into their system and that kind of stuff. But it's kind of interesting. Let me answer this question from Jill. Hey, Jill, no, yeah, I know it seems like old school problems, but I'm using a relatively new Rode microphone. It's on a Sony ZV-E10 camera. And like I said, it was working fine up till 3 weeks ago. So I don't think this is the microphone or the camera. There's definitely something going on with my PC. So something weird in my PC is causing this problem right now. Okay, so I was reading through this document. It's some of it's kind of boring, like how to use the system, right? But there are some stuff here that I thought you all would find kind of interesting in these requirements. Now, remember, this is here in Florida, and this is the county that I'm living in. But this could become a problem for me because they talk about the record-keeping requirements. Now, these requirements are anytime that I purchase scrap or goods from a person, so private citizen. If I'm purchasing from another business, I don't have to do any of this reporting. Well, let me rephrase that. If it's a business like a scrap yard that would logically be selling scrap to me, an HVAC company that would logically be selling HVAC related stuff, electrician selling electrician stuff, I don't have to report that. But if it's a private person who comes up and says, hey, I've got this computer, do you want to buy it from me? I am required to record the time, date, and place of the transaction, an accurate description of the goods, including brand name, model number, manufacturer serial number, size, color. If it's a precious metal, the type, the weight, content, if known. If it's a gemstone, identity and number of stones, if applicable. In case of firearms, the action, caliber, number of barrels, barrel length, and finish. Any other identifying marks and letters, a digital photograph, clearly showing the item and any serial numbers. And then from the person who's selling it or that I'm buying it from, I have to get their full name, their current address, their workplace, their home and work phone numbers, their height, weight, date of birth, race, gender, hair color, eye color, identifying marks, which if you've seen the tats on some of these people, that could be interesting, and a right thumbprint. Now that one, free of smudges and smears from the person from whom the goods were acquired. So that is going to be an issue for me because I don't have a thumbprint reader or a fingerprint reader. So now I've got to go out and figure out how much it would cost me to get a fingerprint reader or a thumbprint reader. I'm sure when you've taken stuff to your scrap yards, you probably use these things. You put your thumb on it, and after about 4 or 5 times, it finally reads what it is that, it reads your fingerprint. So, yeah. So now I've got to go figure out, I'm going to have to stop buying stuff from individuals until I implement a thumbprint reader. All the other stuff is not a problem, right? I can do all that with my digital camera and what have you, but the thumbprint is going to be the problem. Oh, Roger, you had one? Well, hey, dig around the shop there. See if you still have it, man. And Scorpion Metals is saying I can get stock cards and ink pad from the dollar store. Well, I suppose I could do that, and then I'd have to have a whole bunch of clean wipes. Yeah, I suppose that's the old school way to do it, right? Yeah, I may have to go with that, because you know what I'm going to have to do if I get a digital reader now is I'm going to have to have a laptop or a desktop fired up whenever I'm conducting a transaction. Now, in the past, I would just record everything and then enter it in afterwards. So yeah, this is what I'm going to have to do here. And oh, by the way, if you're thinking, why bother? What's the worst that can happen? Well, any person who knowingly gives false verification of ownership, or who gives false or altered identification, or receives money from a secondhand dealer for goods sold, consigned, or traded, commits, if the value of the money is less than $300, it's a felony of the 3rd degree. If the value is over $300, it's a felony in the 2nd degree. And it has these paragraphs for, what other punishment is associated. And then in here, let's see. Oh, yeah, holding period. So this is another good one. Certain goods I have to hold for 30 days before I'm allowed to sell them. So like, a piece of jewelry comes in, I'm supposed to hold that for 30 days before I sell it. Precious metal, gemstone, or jewelry, antique furnishing, fixture, or decorative object, or an object of art. Yeah, it's like, man, sometimes it really sucks when you get on people's radar screen, right? Up till now, I wasn't big enough that anybody cared, right? Now, all of a sudden, people care. And so here I am. Oh, and also the police can confiscate anything that they believe is the stolen goods. Oh, and the fine for me is $10,000. If I'm reading this correct, it's a person who knowingly violates any provision of this chapter commits a misdemeanor of the 1st degree, punishable as provided in blah, 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 and a fine not to exceed $10,000. Okay, I'm sure that I'd probably, get off on a first offense, plead stupidity. But wow, up to $10,000, man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, this is pretty serious. And let's see. I saw the note here. Let's see. Who was it? I think it was Jill. I think it was Jill that made the comment that this was backlash from stolen catalytic converters. It was Urban Prospector. Backlash from stolen converters. That's what all this is about, right? This is all about theft mitigation, whether it's catalytic converters, whether it's AC compressors, because there are people that literally go behind vacant houses that are for sale. They look for that for sale sign, and they'll go around at night and steal the AC compressor from the back of the house. Stolen jewelry, stolen computers. So this is all about theft mitigation. Material from the utilities, because yes, there are idiots that go out there and try to cut the big thick copper cables from substations and and stuff like that. Many of them end up dead, so that's not an issue. But it's all about theft. High theft problems in Florida. Yeah. And I'm sure, and I know in talking with other recyclers and scrappers and stuff, that every state in the US has some kind of provision similar to this, right? There may be some things that are what they call controlled items that in one state that aren't controlled items in another state, but I'm pretty sure that every 50 state has some sort of controlled items, theft control mechanism associated with what we're doing. And, it's scrapyards and secondhand dealers. The secondhand dealers even have it more difficult than what I deal with because I'm primarily a scrapyard. They have a provision here, I didn't bother to read it to you all, where they talk about, a pure pawn shop or secondhand dealer. So someone who's only dealing in secondhand goods, their reporting requirements are even more strict. So, it's a real shame that you deal with this kind of stuff, but what are you going to do? There's crooks and thieves in the world, and those crooks and thieves and people who don't believe that they have to follow the rules are the ones that make it really difficult, for the rest of us who are just trying to make a living, right? So anyway, I've got a bunch of material here that I still need to keep reading through, and next week I'm going to have to log in and get my account set up. Fortunately, I don't have to go backwards and update anything that I've already picked up along the way. And to be perfectly honest with you, I really don't get a lot of stuff from that I buy from private citizens. If they give it to me for free, I don't have to report it because you're not going to steal something and then give it away, right? You're going to want to get paid for it. Unless, of course, it's a handgun that you used in a murder and you're just trying to get rid of it, but that's an entirely different thing. Let's not even go there, right? So, it's going to be, I don't know, it may be a case of I just tell people, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't buy that from you because it becomes more hassle than what it's worth. And like I said, probably 98% of the goods that I take in, I'm either getting from another business, a scrapyard, an electrician, an HVAC, something like that, or people are just giving it to me because they just want it to disappear. Oh, that didn't sound right either, did it? So that's right. Recycling is saying $500 or more for copper requires a driver's license. So people are turning in $499. Yeah. There was something in here too about limits on what a yard is allowed to give you in cash. $1,000, I believe, is what I saw. A yard can pay you up to $1,000 in cash for general scrap. Anything above that, they have to give you a check. And if it's a controlled item, they have to give you a check. And I've already dealt with this, right? When I sell compressors to my yard, they give me a check for the sealed units because the sealed units from the large AC compressors is a controlled item, so they have to give me a check for that. Roger, unless you steal it, find out you can't unload it and just need to dump it. Well, yeah. Oh, railroad iron. Yeah. That, because railroad equipment is another one of those items that is a controlled item. Railroad iron would be one of those things that, yeah, I could see somebody would, they stole it, they couldn't sell it. Now what do you do with it? Yep. I actually had somebody stop me outside of one of my scrap yards, trying to sell me some HV stuff because the yard wouldn't buy it from them. The yard, and I know this yard, so I'm thinking to myself, hey, wait a minute, if these guys aren't buying this from you, there's no way I'm touching this. Not going to happen. So, yeah. That's right. Recycling says no questions asked about AC units here, which is very strange to me. Here in Florida, if it's the outside, the central air conditioning compressor section or heat exchangers, The copper aluminum rads from those are controlled items. And the yards are really pretty careful about that, even to the point where they turn people away. If it's a window unit, they don't, that's not a controlled item. So window units are not controlled items. So yeah, it's interesting how places are going to be kind of different about stuff. Railroad spikes are a no-no. Yeah. Manhole covers are a no-no. I've also got one of my yards that will not take the mailboxes from me. They're saying, yeah, we're not allowed to buy those. And of course, I've had trouble with this yard anyway. For some reason, they're not recognizing me as a scrapyard, even though I've given them all the necessary paperwork to show that I am a business like them. But my other 2 yards, they're fine with it. They don't care. They know I'm a legit company and I'm in the scrapping business, and I'm getting those mailboxes from a guy who's in the business of repairing mailboxes. So I'm not worried about him either. You all have seen the mailbox guy on some of my videos. So yeah, house mailboxes. Yes. So the not mailboxes that are attached to people's houses. Maybe I might have gotten a couple of those, but the mailboxes that are out in front of someone's house. When the guy that I refer to as the mailbox guy, when he replaces those, he calls me about maybe once every other week, and he's got he'll line them up at the garage and just tell me, hey, I've got a bunch of mailboxes, come get them. So it's but the 1 yard won't touch them. They're just like, nope, not going to do it. We're not going to take them. Right. The one guy even told me, he said, it's a federal offense. And I'm trying to explain to him, it's only a federal offense if you destroy a mailbox that is in operation. So the mailbox that's on the street in front of the house that's in operation, yes, it's a federal offense if you mess with that mailbox. But if the mailbox contractor has replaced that mailbox with another one, that old mailbox that he's taken down is no longer of any concern to the U.S. Postal Service, and it can be scrapped. So people get a little twisted up on that one. So Scrapping Irish says, cash for gold won't take my gold Rolex. Oh man, that's funny. That is funny. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, because we have not talked about our stocks yet, and I know what's going to happen. Right, as soon as I open the tab to bring them up, the audio is going to get wonky again. Okay, so bear with me here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the Excel spreadsheet so you can see the numbers, and then I'm going to close it and we'll talk about it. That way, hopefully it's not as annoying. And also let me know when I bring up the Excel spreadsheet if that also causes a problem, because that's not going to be an open tab. That's going to be, going out to the internet. That's going to be an internal file. And it would be very interesting to see if that makes any difference as well. All right, so I'm opening up my Excel right now. So let me know if the audio gets wonky here. And we're going to go right over to, we are comparing FedEx with UPS. So, yep, it went wonky. All right. So the big thing you can see is that FedEx is not qualified and they're not paying much, and they're also very expensive. UPS has a good dividend, a little expensive, but not that bad, and they are qualified. Okay, so if this is going true to form, in about 30 seconds, the audio will line up again with my lips, and we'll be good to go. So, yeah, well, I'm going to go. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go real old school and bring out some paper here in a minute. So 20 seconds after you opened it, the sound came back. Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, so the long and the short of it in that discussion was FedEx not qualified. They do not meet my requirement for 17 years of increasing cash flow, earnings per share, or dividends per share, and they're really expensive, and they're not paying much for dividends. So there is nothing out there to recommend FedEx for folks. UPS, on the other hand, so I'm going to try to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring up the UPS thing because Urban Prospector says, don't move the mouse. Sound went when the mouse was moving. Yeah. So here's, I'm going to open up the spreadsheet again for UPS only. And so we can see with UPS that they are qualified as a Div 1. They had that one flat year back in back in 16 to 17 as they were going into 17. But they're offering 3.6%, which is not too bad, and $182, which yeah, that's a lot more expensive than FedEx. For some people, that's going to put them out of their league. That's kind of even expensive for me. I'm not really excited about that. I can get stocks that are less expensive that are paying me better money than this. But if you really wanted to be into a stock for a company that is moving stuff around, UPS might be the way to go. All right, so yeah, laser printer time. And Scorpion Metals will say it might be overloading the RAM. I've got this system is really pretty new, so I don't know why the RAM would be having problems. But I've still got plenty of RAM slots, so I could shove in some more RAM and see if that's going to make a difference. I tell you, the really frustrating thing about this is that it was fine up until 3 weeks ago. But it's not like my RAM all of a sudden got really old in 3 weeks, right? Something happened 3 weeks ago that was a problem. And Urban Prospector says the sound went wonky for the first 3 seconds, but synced right back up. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That's a good data point to have as well. So the Excel spreadsheets, that's internal. That's not a tab that that was using up any internet. Going out to the internet. So that was just internal, but it was still another tab open. So that's interesting. We'll have to cogitate on that one too. I mean, at least it's a good data point. Dust Bunny, yeah, I don't know. I mean, PC's not that old, but still anything's possible. I could go ahead and shut it down and vacuum it out. And maybe what I'll do is I'll get some more RAM and vacuum it out. I don't think I'm going to see a lot of dust bunnies in there, but hey, you never know, right? Introduce your computer to the shark gauge. You would think that this PC would have gotten the message. I mean, it has processed a lot of videos with a lot of computers meeting their fate. So you would think that this computer would be like, I better behave myself. Um, sounds like Coca-Cola is good stock versus both of. Oh, I agree, man. I agree. It's also a tastier stock than the both of them. Yeah, it's very important point though, urban prospector, that I do want to emphasize. Um, I update folks on the different stocks that are out there. I try to be very careful to let you know what stocks I own or I'm thinking about buying. I just feel like that's an appropriate thing to do. But it doesn't mean that all these stocks are right for you. You have things that are important to you for investment purposes. Maybe it's dividends. Maybe you're hoping it's going to grow. Maybe it's diversifying your portfolio while you're still getting reasonably decent dividends. Maybe there's sectors that you want to be in. There's a lot of reasons why people invest in various stocks. So I'm just trying to go through on a regular basis and help you all see what's out there within the confines of the things that I'm interested in investing in as well. Because why? I mean, granted, there are some stocks that I tell you, yeah, I'm not going to invest in that, but they might be interesting to you, right? So that's a very important point. What's the right stock for you? What's better than, there's going to be plenty, like I said, there's other stocks out there that are better than UPS right now. But if you wanted to diversify and have some sort of shipping or, trucking company in there, maybe UPS is one of the companies to look at. Oddly enough, UPS and FedEx in the Value Line Investment Survey, where I get all of my data from, they're actually part of the air transportation industry. They're not in the trucking industry. The trucking industry does not include FedEx Ground as a separate entity. So FedEx is all wrapped up into one. And of the trucking industries, the only one that comes close to being qualified by our standard is Ryder. So, and if you all want me to do something on that, I'll be happy to maybe throw a quick little thing together and post it up as a video, or we can talk about it next week if you want. But Ryder Systems is a trucking company that last time I looked, they meet the qualifications that I have. It's and the other thing that I do need to emphasize too, I'm not licensed as a investment counselor, financial advisor, stock broker, any of those kind of things. All right. So this is just me sharing with you what I do when I analyze a stock, what I look at, and my opinions on that stock. But I am in no way, shape, or form licensed or certified to tell you to go buy a stock. That's entirely up to you. And if you are going to go buy a stock, then I do encourage you to do your due diligence and seek professional assistance, or at least, do your homework before you buy any kind of stock, because, you could lose money just as easily as you could make money on the stock market. In fact, usually you can lose money a lot easier in the stock market than you can in a lot of other places. Yeah, for Geek Shark to get involved in. Yeah. I've been talking to Geek Shark about this problem, and that he's been no value whatsoever. So I don't know what's up with Geek Shark. I mean, yeah, he's great for plugging numbers, but when it comes to actually trying to do something useful, forget it. Man, I tell you. Yeah, Roger, Yellow went under, and well, Yellow was not. So here's a very interesting point. The Value Line Investment Survey stopped carrying Yellow a while back. So Yellow has been having trouble for quite some time. And they were, and I don't know exactly how long they were having trouble, but they've been having financial troubles for quite a long time. And, there was some questionable loans that were made to them and things like that. Yeah, they just really had, when they went down, it's like they went down quick, but it really wasn't a surprise to people that were union drivers for Yellow or negotiators with Yellow or the government regulators paying attention to what was going on, because they've been having trouble for a while. Urban Prospector, are there storage unit companies? Well, I will find out. I have to believe that some of these big name storage companies would, I'm writing down a note here to check into it. Storage company stocks. And I will look into, let me look real quick on this edition, because this edition, in addition to the trucking company, they had railroad, restaurant, industrial services, environmental industry, and investment and information systems. So I'm looking for names. Looking for names for storage companies. I don't see any listed here. So yeah, I don't see any on this edition, but what I will do is I will go look through the index of all the companies that they analyze, and I'll see if there are any storage companies, and we'll talk about storage companies in a future episode, because that could be really interesting too. Because boy, there's a lot of people that use storage units, isn't there? That seems like a really interesting business, operating storage units. And here in Florida, oh my God, some of the storage unit businesses here in Florida are just insane. These huge buildings, 4 or 5 floors, air conditioned, and and they're insanely expensive too, So, hey, Andrew, great to have you, man. We're just about getting ready to wrap up. For those of you that don't know, Andrew is from New Zealand. He has come to join us from the other side of the world. All right, everybody, remember, if you have autoplay enabled, when I end this stream, it will take you automatically over to Scrapping Irish's live stream. If you do not have autoplay enabled, then I don't know if it sends you a link or a note or something like that, but just go on YouTube, look for Scrapping Irish, come on over and join us in the live stream. Scrapping Irish's live streams are always interesting. You never know who's going to pop up on the panel. You never know where the conversation is going to take us. And maybe even Ian will join us if he has recovered enough from his son's wedding. That'll be interesting too. All right. I will see you all over in Ireland. Have a great week and be safe.